Welcome back to TFT Central. Today we've got some information for you about Samsung Display's third generation of QD-OLED panels for 2024. Samsung Display kindly took us through these plans ahead of CES in January in Las Vegas, and they'll be showcasing these new panels at the event. We'll explain the developments, changes and improvements that have been made, and look at what new panels we can expect to see launched this year for display manufacturers to make use of. Remember that this is Samsung Display, the panel manufacturer, who are producing the actual QD-OLED panels used by various display manufacturers in the monitor and TV space, including Dell, MSI, Samsung Electronics and others. A quick reminder first of all of QD-OLED and how it differs from other OLED technologies. On the left here you can see a typical LCD panel where a backlight sits behind the liquid crystal panel and is filtered through red, green and blue subpixels and a polarizer to produce the image that you see on the screen. LCD panels have been around for a long time in the monitor and TV market. Then in the middle you've got the OLED technology that has been around for many years in the TV market and which has also made its way into desktop monitors in the last year or so. And this is the so-called WOLED panel technology, which is produced by LG Display. This features a self-emissive white OLED stack which does not require a backlight like LCDs do. And so this allows for pixel level dimming and for pixels to be individually turned on and off. So that also supports the true blacks and incredible contrast ratios that you get from OLED panels. On WOLED panels, this is then passed through the RGB subpixels, but there's also an added white subpixel used to help boost brightness before it's passed through the backplane and polarizer. The actual order of these subpixels is actually currently red, white, blue, green, which causes some problems with text rendering on desktop monitors. Although we know that LG Display have plans to update this over the next couple of years to improve text clarity. That's something we talked a lot more about in our recent WOLED roadmap video. QD-OLED is a little different, and the OLED stack actually emits blue light and sits above the backplane. This blue light is then passed through red and green quantum dots and an equivalent blue filter to produce the image. There's no additional white subpixel used here for QD-OLED, although one important note is that there is also no polarizer. We'll come back to that a little bit later on. In the monitor market, Generation 1 QD-OLED panels were introduced in 2022, with the first monitor using these being the Dell Alienware AW3423DW that we reviewed back in May 2022. This was the first generation panel, which was a 34-inch ultra-wide format with a 175Hz refresh rate, and then that panel's been adopted in loads of monitors with this spec since. Last year, in 2023, we saw Samsung develop their second generation QD-OLED panels, with a 49-inch super ultra-wide monitor panel appearing with a 5120x1440 resolution and a refresh rate of either 144Hz or 240Hz. We had a chance to review monitors with both of these new second gen 49-inch panels last year, with the Samsung Odyssey G95SC and the Asus ROG Swift PG49WCD. Samsung made some improvements to their QD-OLED panels last year with Gen 2, although some of the changes only really applied to the TV size panels. The new hyper-efficient electroluminescence material used makes its blue emitting layer more efficient and clearer and leads to an expected brightness increase of 30% for brighter highlights. In the TV market, this allowed increased brightness for HDR up to 2000 nits, although in the smaller monitor size panels we didn't really see any changes in that regard from Gen 1 panels, and then they still reached around 1000 nits. The second generation panels also feature Samsung's most advanced pixel level optimization algorithm called IntelliSense AI version 2. This apparently offers real-time monitoring that predicts and optimizes pixel level load and light output for each subpixel. This means any abnormal behavior is detected and resolved instantly, and then that should help with improved durability and lifespan, as well as helping to reduce power consumption. So the two key changes in Gen 2 last year were mostly focused on improving efficiency and durability. One other change last year that was not widely promoted by Samsung Display but was very important from a monitor point of view was an update to the subpixel layout of the panels that they used. And this in turn helped improve the text clarity a bit in the monitor space. The subpixel shape is now more square and has higher pixel fill, and we saw improvements in text clarity when we tested the second gen panels last year. This year for 2024, Samsung are launching their third generation QD-OLED with a couple of further improvements to the panel performance and development process. This will help them deliver brighter panels, improve pixel density, improve the lifespan and durability, and reduce power consumption as well. First up is their new quantum enhancer technology, which uses an AI-powered compensation algorithm that will help improve lifespan and durability, and which is personalised to each individual panel. This will then help prolong the lifespan of the OLED panel, as well as help reduce the risks of image retention or other image problems over time. This should help manage and protect screen uniformity too, and Samsung Display talk about this doubling the durability of their panels. Higher brightness is expected from the Gen 3 QD-OLED panels in 2024, but this is really only applicable to the TV-sized panels, which will apparently be able to reach up to 3000 nits brightness now in the best cases for HDR peak brightness. This is an improvement of 50% compared with second-gen panels from last year, while also allowing 300 nits for full 100% APL white screens apparently. The monitor-sized panels are still limited to 1000 nits this year unfortunately, so we aren't expecting to see any real improvements in peak brightness from their third-gen QD-OLED panels for monitors. We have asked for clarification on whether brightness will be increased for larger APL window sizes, but the peak brightness is still listed as 1000 nits for third-gen monitor panels. The new quantum enhancer is also being linked to the improvements in refresh rate from their third-gen panels, with some panels available up to 360Hz refresh rate, which will be the highest available from any OLED panel at the time they launch. More on the new panels in a moment. The new brightness increases for the larger TV panels are made possible without increases to power consumption as well, with the focus on panel efficiency and environmental credentials helping to make this possible. The second significant change for 2024 third-gen QD-OLED panels is a new ultra-precise pico inkjet process that Samsung Display tell us can flawlessly deposit quantum dot ink. This allows for 60% more pixels in the same area with a very low error rate, and it's the technology behind making higher pixel density panels possible, including the new 4K panels they're now producing for monitors. Samsung Display will be launching two new monitor panels during 2024 from their third gen, which are already in mass production now. There's a 31.5 inch size panel, often referred to as 32 inch, with a 3840 by 2160 4K resolution and a 240Hz refresh rate, and this will be available in both flat and curved formats. This is the new flagship panel option, offering a significant improvement to pixel density, which is made possible thanks to that new pico inkjet process. This will deliver 140 pixels per inch density, a significant step up from the approximate 110 ppi of their Gen 1 34 inch and Gen 2 49 inch panels. This will allow for higher levels of detail and clarity, and finally brings 4K resolution to the OLED gaming monitor market as well. 4K is a very popular option for this screen size, so it's a dream panel spec for many people. Samsung will be first to market with their 32-inch QD-OLED panel, but LG Display have their own competing WOLED panel coming later in the year too. You can find out loads more info about the specs and features of that WOLED panel in our roadmap video linked on the screen now. We already know of a few monitors announced that will make use of the Samsung QD-OLED 32-inch panel, including the Dell Alienware AW3225QF, which will use the curved version of the panel, as well as the MSI MPG 321URX and the Asus ROG Swift PG32UCDM, which will use the flat version of the panel. There's links in the description below to find out more information on all of these new screens, but they're expected to be launched during Q1, with the Dell Alienware model expected to be the first to market and available very soon. The other monitor-sized QD-OLED panel that's being launched this year by Samsung Display is a 27-inch 1440p option with a 360Hz refresh rate. This will again be available in flat and curved versions, but so far we've only seen a couple of screens announced which will both be using the flat version. There's the Dell Alienware AW2725DF and the MSI MPG 271QRX. They're expected to be launched during Q1 as well. This will be the highest refresh rate OLED panel available when it's launched during Q1, offering a 50% increase over the current 240Hz panels, which are pretty widespread, and bringing further improvements therefore to motion clarity, frame rates and overall end-to-end system latency. Thanks to the near instant response times of OLED technology, this should offer motion clarity equivalent to a 480Hz LCD panel. so we should expect to see super fast performance here. We know from our recent roadmap and press releases from LG Display that their competing 27-inch 1440p QD-OLED panel will have a higher 480Hz refresh rate, but that's not expected to be available until later this year around Q2, Q3 time. So for now, Samsung will have the highest OLED panel on the market for a little while when it launches in Q1. There's no changes expected to the pixel layout or the shape of the pixels this year, so the benefits from Gen 2 still remain for Gen 3 panels. There's also no change to the standard panel coating, so it remains the same semi-glossy finish that provides a sharper and clearer image than current matte anti-glare coated QD-OLED panels. That's something that many people prefer, but these panels do continue to have issues with raised blacks as your ambient room lighting increases. That's something we investigated in detail recently, and it's linked in the video description below. This is caused by the lack of a polarizer, which we mentioned earlier, and the inadvertent activation then of the quantum dot layer by external light. Samsung Display told us that there weren't any changes here for Gen 3 panels when it comes to the coating or with the handling of external light and the perceived black depth. Although we'll of course put one through our testing later in the year when we have one of these monitors available. While there's no change to the panel coating of the actual QD-OLED panels, it does seem that some monitor and TV manufacturers might apply an additional coating to the panel, presumably to try and reduce reflections further. Samsung Electronics are adopting the 32-inch Gen 3 QD-OLED panel and the 27-inch panels in a couple of their announced new screens, but they're adding a matte anti-glare coating to the panel, it seems. We're not sure what the rationale is for this at the moment or whether it will offer any improvements, but we look forward to seeing how this impacts image quality when the screens are released later this year. Samsung Display did tell us that some of the new quantum enhancer technologies will also be made available via an updated T-Con, a timing controller, to the still mass-produced 34-inch and 49-inch panels from Gen 1 and Gen 2. Although to make use of the updated T-Con, the display manufacturers would likely need to update their production process and monitor electronics for their particular screens. So as a result, we don't expect any of the existing 34-inch or 49-inch monitors on the market to be updated to make use of the new algorithms and durability enhancement improvements from the quantum enhancer. But any new monitors to market in these sizes during 2024 could potentially be using the same panels, but with the updated T-Con featuring these technologies. We'll have to look out for that being mentioned by display manufacturers, although it seems likely that if a new display was launched and the display manufacturers using a new supply of panels, then they would in theory be using these enhancements. No further monitor size panels were announced at this time, with the focus really being on the new 32-inch and 27-inch panels that we just talked about. In the TV space, there will be new QD-OLED panels launched in sizes of 55-inch, 65-inch and 77 inches. These will feature the 50% brightness increase up to 3000 nits, as well as the double durability, reduced power consumption and the quantum enhancer improvements we talked about earlier. Their full monitor and TV QD-OLED panel lineup will then look something like this during 2024. So there's a summary of the improvements and changes we can expect from Samsung Display's third generation of QD-OLED panels this year. Let us know in the comments which panel you're most excited about and what screen you might buy this year. We've got loads of other monitor and OLED news coming up, so don't forget to hit subscribe to stay up to date. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.